to the Reality Revolution. I'm your host, Brian Scott. Today I wanted to come back to the idea that you are the source and your fortune and prosperity begins with you. It may be that one of the great moments in the long history and evolution of man on planet Earth was when some primitive first got an inkling that they could be free, that they could have some control over their destiny. It didn't mean, nor did he think it did, that he could control the elements or the giant beasts which roamed their world. However, it did mean they could take charge of their own life and do certain things of their own volition, which would determine the influence of outer conditions and creatures upon their life. It was one of the great moments in human history. And it is an important moment in your life when you discover for yourself the great truth that things may happen around you, that things may happen to you, but the only things which really count are the things that happen in you. You may have precious little control of the elements or the fluctuation of the stock market or the unpredictable behavior of people. However, you live in a world of your consciousness, which is the sum total of the thoughts of your mind. And you can control what goes on in your mind. This is not to say that it is easy, but to establish that it is possible. There's a great idea that you will encounter again and again on your quest. You are a living magnet, constantly drawing to you the things, the people, and the circumstances which are in accord with your thoughts. In other words, you are where you are in experience, in relationships, even in financial conditions because of what you are, which is where you are in consciousness. Now, this is not an easy teaching. You may want to reject it and pause this video. In the Bible, when Jesus began to lay out the hard laws of his teaching, it says, many of his disciples drew back and no longer went about with him. John 6:6. And thus it has always been, however, if you are willing to accept full responsibility for your life, then even as your level of thought has put you where you are, or at least contributed to it, so by a change of consciousness, you can change the experiences of your life. This would seem not to apply in the case of the nation's economy and its influence on your personal prosperity. However, there are broad differences of opinion among the world's economists. However, we can be certain of one thing: by reason of the law of sequence and consequence, every cycle had to start somewhere. It is likely that someone or some group of persons set forth a strongly felt belief which spread like fire and swept across the country, having a measurable influence upon consumer buying, the job market, the inflationary spiral, and on the performance of the stock market. One thing which economists do agree upon is that business conditions always tend to reflect the level of confidence of the people. On a more personal level, your own prosperity or lack of it will also reflect the level of your thinking. There's just no way around it. Your fortune, good or bad, begins with you. Financial crises, even recessions or depressions, so far as they affect your pocketbook or bank account or job stability, begin with your reactions of faith or fear. You do not cause economic conditions, though we all share in the cumulative consciousness that is the cause. But if you give them reality by your negative thoughts or conversations about them, you become synchronized with an energy flow which has as swift an influence on your life as the light that bathes the room when you throw the switch. So many people watch the news, get caught up in politics, and they say, oh, look at that inflation. Oh, I heard about the gas prices. Everything's going to hell. We're going to have a recession. You do not make the light, but in a very real sense, it becomes real in your experience by reason of your act of turning it on. Someone could say, you're fortunate to have light in your room, but your fortune begins with you. You are the one that turned on the switch. Your personal welfare begins with your consciousness. It is not what happens on Wall Street. It is not the state of the economy. It has its inception in the state of your mind. You can be prosperous when business is poor, and you can experience financial difficulties even when business is booming. Consider, if you will, the responsibility you have toward conditions as a whole. For what happens in your mind and is reflected in your affairs will have a definite, even if minuscule, influence upon the nation's business. There's no way out. You are always on the side of the problem, or you are on the side of the solution. Choose this day whom you will serve. Joshua 24:15. However, as concerns prosperity for you, it is simply a matter of addition or subtraction. By your thinking, you are either adding to your good or you are taking away from it. The law is inexorable. Failure or lack in your life is simply the result of continuously minusing yourself. Conversely, success and prosperity are the result of constantly plussing yourself. It is wise to take inventory occasionally. Are you dealing in minuses or pluses? It is that simple. Your negative thoughts of fear and worry are depleting your good faster than inflation erodes the value of the dollar. And your positive, optimistic thoughts add to your good more dramatically than compound interest increases your bank savings. Jesus declared this truth in a statement that has been extremely controversial. He said, "For unto everyone that hath shall be given, and he shall have abundance. But from him that hath not shall be taken away, even that which he hath." Matthew 25:29. To many persons, this seems to say that the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, which certainly would appear to be a great injustice. Actually, Jesus' statement puts into symbolical language the kind of orderly law upon which the whole universe is constructed. Remember that little horseshoe-shaped piece of steel painted red which we played with as children. We would use it to pick up metallic objects and to find things in the sand. A magnet attracts and holds iron filings. Yet if you take an unmagnetized piece of steel, even if it is shaped like a horseshoe and painted red, it not only attracts no filings, but even if you heap some filings on the steel, they will fall off at the first jostling. This is not favoritism or luck. It is basic universal law. Thus, in the same sense, you are constantly attracting to you the conditions you make inevitable by the quality of your thoughts. In the old New Thought teachings, there is a lot of emphasis given to making demonstrations. The student may say, "I am trying to demonstrate over this," or "I'm working to demonstrate a new job." It is a term used in scientific prayer, as Ernest Holmes refers to it. The concept that if you get certain things worked out within your consciousness, you're going to outform or manifest them in your experience. Answered prayer, then, is a demonstration. In the science of prayer, nothing is incurable or beyond help. All things are possible. It is a tremendously important realization. However, in the minds of many students, it is a matter of making divine law work. You can't make law work. Law is an inexorable process. You can't make law work. You're always in the working milieu of law, as for example, you're always under the influence of gravity. One might be foolish to say, "I'm going to make a demonstration of gravity." The fact is, gravity is a constant. You may stray from the awareness of the process and do some unwise thing that will revert to you as a problem. If so, the need is simply to stop doing it and once again become synchronized with gravity's supportive vibration. So it is with the demonstration of divine law. It is not something you do to God or even something that God does especially for you. It is simply a change of your consciousness in which you become synchronized with the ceaseless activity of divine love, of healing life, or of prospering substance. In the metaphysical teaching of prosperity, the idea of demonstration, unfortunately, is often presented in terms of magic and miracles. We hear things like the magic of demonstration and the miracle of answered prayer. There is the suggestion of alchemy, turning things into something else or producing something ex nihilo, out of nothing. You may recall the wilderness story of Jesus when he was tempted by the devil to turn stones into bread or change spiritual awareness into worldly power. Don't miss the meaning here by imagining an outside tempter luring him on. The devil is the satanic influence of human consciousness, urging him to try to find shortcuts to personal fortune. Jesus held firm in self-realization and self-control as he said, "Get thee hence, Satan." The important truth is that you are a spiritual being with the allness of infinite mind within you. Whatever your needs may be, the answer is not to get God to give you more through some divine sleight of hand process, but rather to uncover and release your own imprisoned splendor. Avoid the temptation to try to work the law, and thus to materialize the process. Get your mind off the idea of making a demonstration in life. Center your awareness on a deeper sense of life, and the demonstration will begin to make you. Well-intentioned enthusiasts of new thought often echo the misleading cliche, "Expect a miracle." It is supposed to encourage one to expect more from life, which is good. However, it is walking right into a trap. So I say, against the grain of the majority of most contemporary teachings and teachers of truth, don't expect a miracle. If you center your consciousness in the expectation of miracles, you are playing with universal law, hoping for some magic abrogation of an inexorable activity. You're putting the whole weight of your consciousness on the side of belief in a universe of caprice. It is spiritual naivete which dilutes all that you may have built up in the awareness of the changelessness of divine law. There is no miracles. All is possible. This is certainly not to express skepticism of the tremendous power to heal or prosper or to question in any way the full implications of the statement, "All things are possible." When we deal with changeless law, we have even more faith in the process, but we don't have to play games. When the widow's oil was increased, it was not through divine intervention in human affairs, but the exploitation of divine law on a higher level of awareness. Certainly all things are possible, not because God makes an exception for you by reason of your plea, but because your faith is the key to the kingdom of the power within you to apply the laws that transcend human limitation. Again, we say, don't expect a miracle. Don't reduce the practice of truth to the naive effort to coax a magic showing from a reticent God. If you really believe that you are entitled to the fullness of the kingdom, the resulting outforming may appear to be miraculous, for wonderful things can and will be done. But it is the natural fulfillment of divine law, the healing you long for, the overcoming you desire, the prosperity and success you've been praying for so persistently, even though you may feel they're fantastic odds to overcome. These things do not call for miracles, but for the disciplined application of divine law and the steady effort to understand that you are God. The great ideal of spiritual seeking is to be in tune with the infinite. To traffic in such thoughts as only a miracle can save him, and it is impossible, but I expect a miracle, is to be in tune with the indefinite. Think about it. Get it clearly established in consciousness. There are no miracles in an orderly universe. All things are possible under divine law. One of the most self-limiting attitudes of the whole human race is the belief in chance or luck. I realize I read a book recently about luck. Occasionally it is said, "I have been lucky, my prayers answered." However, God doesn't deal in luck. As Emerson says, the dice of God are always loaded. The belief in luck crowds out real faith and lulls all true initiatives to sleep. Now, that particular book about how to increase your luck, in particular, talks about ways and habits that will bring about lucky occasions. And he uses the word luck in a different way. The belief in luck crowds out real faith and lulls all true initiative to sleep. And yet so many people think that prosperity and success are simply the results of good luck, that financial reverses, unemployment, or even illnesses are misfortune or bad luck. It is the most flourishing excuse of all human difficulties. The bad luck becomes an excuse, and you can't take responsibility for it. It soothes the conscience and presents the person as an innocent victim of an unknown sinister force. We say an almost pious declaration of self-defense. I couldn't do much about it. I was just unlucky. It is often in this consciousness of spiritual immaturity that a person may turn to the wheel of fortune as a way to strike it rich. person may have an urgent financial need and think, I will make a demonstration by picking the winning number in the lottery. Traditional religion has often muddled the issue by preaching on the sin of gambling. There is nothing immoral about games of chance. If one has the means and wants to be entertained by picking horses or playing roulette, then let that person enjoy himself in clear conscience. However, it may become a source of spiritual limitation if the gambler is not spending available funds in entertainment, but is desperately trying to make his or her fortune. It is a self-delusive trap, for in an orderly universe there is simply no way in which one can get something for nothing. Under divine law, you receive as you have given, no more and no less. If you feel you've been down on your luck, don't succumb to the temptation to try to make it big in some game of chance. Your fortune begins with you, not with the roll of the dice or with the winning number or with any kind of lucky break. There's only one way in which you can change your luck, and that is by altering your thoughts. How inadvertently and yet surely we corrupt the ideals of children when we precept and by example we teach them that life is to be found and experienced out there in the world. Thus, when they arrive at the age of responsibility, they are urged to go out into the world to make their fortune. They are progressively introduced to the idea of getting the break, of expecting success to come in one great stroke of good fortune or luck. And they set a veritable minefield of traps for themselves so that the career frustrations, the layoffs, or the investment failures are all a result of bad breaks. How blessed are the children who early in life are taught that their fortune begins with them, that they are the source. They will grow into spiritually mature adults who are confident that they have the potential in themselves to set into operation the fundamental process which will cause all things in the world to work for their good. They will know that their fortune is not something to find, but to unfold within. Sophisticated religious beliefs, to the contrary, notwithstanding, the average person's living philosophy centers at a point somewhere between belief in kismet, the inevitability of fate and destiny, and the luck of the draw, with a subtle effort to change that luck in every conceivable way. Farmer may install a horseshoe over the barn door. One may carry a special charm or amulet in one's pocket. Religious people are among the most superstitious, though they justify the practices as being a part of their religious teaching. Call them what you will, all the little charms, medallions, and figurines that people wear or carry or hang on their doorposts or dashboards are done essentially for good luck. They constitute an attempt to alter what Voltaire calls the concentration of events. However, life is not a game of chance. Your fortune is not influenced by caprice. It is determined by the shape of your consciousness. In Julius Caesar, Shakespeare puts into the mouth of Cassius the meaningful statement, "The fault, dear Brutus, is not in our stars, but in ourselves, that we are underlings." It is always sad to hear someone insist that some ironic twist of fate has ruined his or her life. One man was dismissed from his job. The result is he is bordering on a complete mental collapse. He says, "My life is over. It is the end of everything." He talks of the lucky break he had in getting the job many years earlier. He wonders how this dismissal now could reverse the stroke of good fortune that established me in my career. The problem is really quite obvious. He has established the whole career on flimsy platform of chance. Time and time again, he has repeated the words, "How lucky I was to get this job." In a very real sense, though, all the years he has been working under a sword of Damocles. For if you live in the belief of good luck as the key of getting ahead, then the other side of the coin is that bad luck can frustrate your progress. You simply cannot have one without the other. The man had set the trap for himself, and thus his bad fortune too began with him. Now, the book that I read on how to attract good luck was not necessarily saying that things are lucky or bad luck. It's just saying you can put yourself in good situations by the way you think and your consciousness, and these things naturally will arise. In particular, being of service to others and thinking about others first, those always end up being a good thing. It's not about luck, But using the word luck is an interesting way of teaching it because you have unusual things that happen. Your prosperity and success and your good fortune certainly may be influenced by changing conditions, but even then, depending upon how you deal with them. However, your good is always deeply rooted in what Jesus called the kingdom of God within. When he said, "It is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom," he was saying that your fortune is an unborn possibility of limitless life, and yours is the privilege of giving birth to it. As Walt Whitman says, "Henceforth, I ask not good fortune, I myself am good fortune." A great idea that may help you to unlearn some of the errors of human consciousness is this: I am a most important person to God. For I am God's living enterprise. God is not off somewhere in space where you must strain to reach him or her to get them to work a miracle for you. If you're lucky, God is on your side. God has a stake in you. God is you. Not someone to reach for, but a presence to accept, a part of you, your identity. Instead of dwelling on how difficult things are for you, turn often to the center of your being and relax in the assurance that you are God and that your good fortune is secure because it is God's good pleasure to give it to you. It is possible that a person may actually be a Jonah. In the Bible story, Jonah was thrown overboard because the crew attributed all its misfortunes to Jonah's unlucky influence. Of course, there's the classic cartoon character by Al Cap, Job Sick, who always dressed in black and wore a crooked hat and had a black cloud over his head. Wherever he went, misfortune occurred. Machines broke down, feuds broke out, hens didn't lay, weapons misfired, and everything unfortunate that could happen. If you watch the movie Bullet Train, Brad Pitt's character is all about the bad luck, everything going wrong around him. Are these situations realistic? Very much so. Not that once a Jonah, always a Jonah, but one can fall into a black cloud syndrome so that trouble comes in troves because of the way they think. Perhaps it's a psychological corollary of the scientific principle of entropy, considered to be a fundamental factor of the universe. Entropy causes organized forms to gradually disintegrate into lower and lower levels of organization. It is the basis of the theory that the universe is like a great machine running down and wearing out. In a personally symbolic sense, we slip into entropic consciousness through synchronizing our thoughts with negative thinking of the world. Misfortunes follow misfortune under this black cloud. However, the influence can be reversed. It is interesting that there is mounting evidence for the existence of an opposite scientific principle, syntropy, through the influence of which forms tend to reach higher and higher levels of organization, order, and dynamic harmony. Albert Zent Gajori, Nobel Prize-winning biologist, refers to it as an innate drive in living matter to perfect itself. And today, many are calling attention to a psychological drive toward synthesis, toward wholeness and self-perfection. Again, in a personally symbolic sense, we rise into a syntropic consciousness as we keep our minds stayed on God. When you are in charge of your mind, in the consciousness of oneness with the creative flow, when you're working with life instead of against it, when you are positive and loving and secure in the conviction of truth, then you are under the white cloud. Psalm 91 calls it the shadow of the Almighty. In this consciousness, syntropy does its work. Parking spaces open up for you. Stocks go up as you buy. Dishonest people are fair in their dealings with you. Jobs appear. Promotions come. It would appear that you're having good luck, that you're living a charmed life. Actually, it is nothing more nor less than consciousness outforming itself in your reality. When you maintain an optimistic view toward conditions in the world and are incurably bullish toward the economy in general, regardless of what the economic gloomcasters may be saying, then you carry your white cloud of syntropy out into the world. You become a positive and highly contagious influence for a condition of general prosperity. In a very real sense, you make a difference. Remember, your fortune, your personal success, and your prosperity are not in the hands of some fickle finger of fate, nor are they determined by sudden changes in the economy. The answer is in your condition and your ability to form and shape the ever-present substance of the universe. You can change your luck. Resolve that you will chase off the black cloud of entropy. Paul gives the key. Don't let the world around you force you into its mold, but let God remold your mind from within. Establish yourself under the white cloud of syntropy. You will walk and work in a consciousness in which all things really work for good. I assume everything is working for my advantage, and everything starts to work for my advantage. Even a job dismissal will turn out to be the best thing that has ever happened to you, as you're serendipitously directed into a new career. Some will call it luck. Just be sure you call it consciousness. Your fortune begins with you. Henry Thoreau seems to sum it up for us in this quote from his classic Walden. If one advances confidently in the direction of his dreams and endeavors to live the life which he has imagined, he will meet with a success unexpected in common hours. He will put some things behind, will pass an invisible boundary. New, universal, and more liberal laws will begin to establish themselves around and within him, or old laws will be expanded and interpreted in his favor in a more liberal sense, and he will live with a license of a higher order of beings. So I want you to come away from this episode knowing that you are the source of your prosperity. It begins with you. All the things that have happened in your life began with you. It wasn't bad luck. It wasn't unfortunate circumstance. I know it's easy for you to say that, but it's not. It's a tough thing. You take responsibility for it, and you say that I am responsible for my life. All things that have happened in my life are because of me. Then you have the power to change it. And if you focus on the good and focus on what you want and assume that everything's working to your advantage, it will work to your advantage. The fortune and prosperity of your life begins with you. You can find all episodes of The Reality Revolution at therealityrevolution.com. Now available at newearth.art. Powerful fourth density technologies. Art magic. Sigils. Images designed to magnetize and broadcast specific energies and intentions. You can access these images to help you find true prosperity, large sums of money, true love, radiant health, and spiritual enlightenment with unique portals into the new earth. These images are available for you. You can acquire prints of any image. You can acquire magnets, mugs, iPhone cases, t-shirts, hoodies, greeting cards, coasters, and several different gallery wraps and styles of canvas. You can also get these images in a variety of different sizes and dimensions. You can purchase these in a variety of different ways, and they are here to enable you to transform your life. You can go to wall previews and look at these images, and you can check them out with different dimensions. In many cases, you can get images up to 72 inches for any of these images. They are designed as unique technologies for you to look into, infused with magical light at www.newearth.art. Welcome to the Reality Revolution.